All right.
Hello, everyone. So today we're going to be reacting to SatanCon, which has started quite the steer on the internet. It was all over social media, Christians reacting to it. You have the Satanists, or we should just say the liberals, who are not to equate the two, not to make a direct equation, but they were trying to show this as like to attack the church or to attack Christian culture. So, what is this, James? What do we have here?
Well, so SatanCon, as it has been described here, is a 3-day gathering held by the Temple of Satan, or maybe the Satanic Temple. There are numerous organizations under this name that all have similar ideas. So if I mess the
Mhm.
names up, it's their fault for having 10,000 different organizations, not mine.
Yeah,
But
Satanic Temple's the one.
the central goal of this organization was to gather here in order to offend people of good morals and good conscience. The entire purpose of this gathering is to offend people that lean to the right politically. The entire purpose of this whole organization is to do this. It was founded around 2013, not 2013. It was founded during the Bush administration, some number of years ago, in order to try to force the Bush administration to give them money. Because the Bush administration had begun funding Christian organizations, and they believed it was a violation of the separation of church and state, and so wanted to get money from the Bush administration against the Bush administration's will in order to be antithetical to their cause while also making money. So the whole purpose of this organization is to pretend to be a religious organization, and then by pretending to be a religious organization, derive tax exempt status and the right to try to force civil governments to recognize them as a religion. A perfect example that's mentioned here in this article is that the mayor of Boston would not allow them to have a satanic invocation at the opening of a city council meeting when they requested to do so. So, perform one of their weird satanic prayers.
Mm-hmm.
And they consider this to be a violation of their First Amendment rights because Christian groups have been allowed to hold prayers opening city council meetings. This whole organization, it must be understood, is designed to mock the very concept of religion. They are not Satanists in the sense that very few of them, if any, believe there is a literal devil or a literal God, but are rather a form of militant atheist that is seeking to play a trick on religious people. Their principles line up with what could be called secular humanism or modern liberalism, more accurately, the sort of quasi socialistic modern liberalism that is beginning to take root here in the West. And the Satanism is merely an exterior beard that they put on in order to attempt to get people even more angry at them. As you can tell by reading the article here a little bit, they opened by tearing apart a Bible and destroying a thin blue line flag. This perfectly represents the essence of their whole philosophical worldview. They wish to destroy civil authorities, which they believe are unjust, and religious authorities, which they believe are unjust. Their whole thesis of the world here relies on the assumption that the things that build society as it stands today are categorically oppressive and must be overthrown. A philosophical belief which runs fundamentally central to, and at least parallel with, the ideas advocated for by many mainstream politicians. Thus, we have the title of this video, Why These Satanists Are Not Satanists, but Why You Should Still Care. This pattern of behavior, the beliefs present here, run parallel to the beliefs that are advocated for by many of our leading politicians. These people have just named themselves Satanists and thus made themselves more obvious. All of these ideas fundamentally run back to the ideas set forward by Milton's Satan in Paradise Lost. I will not serve. I refuse submission to the
Mm-hmm.
just social order. These people wish to destroy the police and God because they refuse submission to the just social order. We can see here on screen, Michael has brought up the 7
Yeah.
tenets of the Church of Satan, which fundamentally underlie their beliefs. There are various different creeds of faith for these Satanist groups, all of which run along these same general principles. And all of these tenets, all of these beliefs are designed to sound like something you would agree with, because your mind has been subverted by modern secular liberalism, while being something that has packed within it an insane amount of terrible power, or an insane amount of terrible evil, rather. One should strive to act with compassion and empathy toward all creatures in accordance with reason. Again, this sounds like a good idea, but creatures suggests animals. It suggests an equality of all living beings, which rejects the primacy of man as the highest being in God's creation. It lowers man down to the level of a mere creature in its wording, and in
Mm-hmm.
accordance with reason. This is not in accordance with right reason, as the church would consider it. This is not in accordance with the unification of faith and reason, which the church advocates for, but is rather in accordance with their disordered empiricist reasoning, which they use as the basis of their entire worldview. The second tenet we have here: the struggle for justice is ongoing and necessary and should prevail over laws and institutions. We have that classical call for anarchy and revolution, which defined the French Revolution, which defined the violence which they perpetrated at the barricades against the Orleans monarchy after the French Revolution, and which defines all of the horrors of modern communist revolutions. The belief that there is a man-made standard of justice which must overcome over all alternative worldviews and all alternative abilities. This philosophical worldview, like the first one they set forward, seems fine. All of us believe that justice should prevail against laws and institutions. Many of us Catholics believe our current laws and institutions are not in keeping with justice, and we want them changed. But the Church of Satan here, they think they haven't gone far enough. They want them to progress further. They want to make things from a Catholic perspective worse. And they believe that if they need to break down the laws and institutions of civil society to do it, to destroy the churches, to destroy the police, then it's worthwhile. One's body is inviolable and subject to one's own will. Both Michael and I can simply laugh at that one a little bit.
It's just the abortion argument right there.
Yes, of course. One's own body. Obviously, that only counts after you're a certain number of months old, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have this next point. The freedoms of others should be respected, including the freedom to offend and willfully and unjustly encroach upon the freedoms of others is to forgo one's own.
It's like the laws of teenagers right there.
Mm-hmm.
They should be willing to offend.
The interesting thing I would ask about this is, considering the liberalism of this organization, where would they stand on one's right to offend minority groups?
Ooh.
I rather imagine the Church of Satan is not necessarily going to come out for the right of the Klansmen to burn a cross in the public square. Not that I would. I go against that, but I do not claim to believe in a set of principles like this. So perhaps ask your local Satanist if they would be in favor of defending the rights of the KKK and see how they react.
Yeah, it's just so where are we at now? Number 5, beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, as we were saying before the show, with conforming your beliefs to the best scientific understanding of the world is something that's always fleeting, always changing, as we've seen during the coronavirus pandemic. Each week was something new. There was a new scientific standard that was set almost arbitrarily by the government. Like the pandemic started out, don't wear a mask. A month into the pandemic, everyone has to wear a mask. And if you don't wear a mask, you're a criminal. That might be too big of a reaction, an overreaction.
Well, but the better point with this is that it's scientific understanding of the world. One's best scientific understanding of the world, like you said, it will change from period to period. It's not merely coronavirus. Our scientific understanding of the world has changed massively in the last several hundred years. They're suggesting that what is best, that one's beliefs should be this sort of sliding scale of ideas which shift and change depending on what the science says. Well, the Catholic Church's affirmation is that there is an objective standard of what is right and wrong. There are beliefs that you must hold to, and that those beliefs remain unchanging and unchangeable throughout time. This is a belief in the kind of idea of progress, creating new ideas and new philosophical convictions, a rejection of the permanence of truth.
Mm-hmm. And I think you can see that with like the World Economic Forum, progress, going back to like the Marxism, just the people seeking to make a human utopia on Earth, and that utopia always collapses.
Well, then we have this next line here. People are fallible. If one makes a mistake, one should do the best to rectify it and resolve any harm that might have been caused. Now, this precept seems humble, but the problem here is the fallibility that they're likely insisting upon is the fallibility of prior generations. Well, this is a principle which is right, that one should be willing to rectify what one has done wrong. It is a principle which, by its very nature, allows for a possibility of one to say people are fallible, to disregard whatever they wish to not believe in.
Yeah, and so the final tenet. So I'm guessing these were based on the 7 deadly sins. They have 7 tenets. Not sure. That's
May
just
have been. I think it may have also been based on Anton LaVey's beliefs as well. There's this one section where Anton LaVey, who is one of the founders of non-theistic Satanism, said, "Do as you will. This is the whole of the law."
mhm.
And that belief, of course, in its Nietzscheanism, is a bit too extreme for our modern liberal society. So subsequent Satanists have created what could be described as liberal conceptions of it. Effectively, what they've done here is they've just taken the cult of reason from the worst decadence of the French Revolution, and they've made it into a new religion. And they're using Satan as their god.
Yeah.
This last section here, every guiding principle is designed to inspire nobility in action and thought. So the spirit of compassion, wisdom, and justice always prevails over the written and spoken word. Now,
So you know
this
what that's hinting at? Of course, the
indeed.
Word of God, spoken word, the Bible.
Yeah, and then it also completely and totally invalidates the rest of this law because it says that it's designed to inspire nobility in action and thought. What that means is wholly subjective. They don't believe there's a God. They don't believe there's a nobility. They don't believe that there's kingdoms, that there's the just things that order the world. They kind of just believe that nobility is whatever you feel is noble. And because of that, that means that if you feel that any of these laws are not in keeping with something, if you feel that, for example, your body includes the fetus, which is another being living inside of you, the baby inside of you, that your body includes that body and you can destroy it, then you can disregard the sections of the law that say one should act with compassion and empathy toward all creatures in accordance with reason.
Mhm.
It makes the whole of the law a subjective judgment, this entire precept, a philosophical pretext for will to power.
Yeah, I think so. We just see that their doctrine collapses in on itself. So, what can we take away from this gathering, this conference? It was held at a hotel. People were probably overreacting to it. It said the largest satanic gathering, but as we see, they're not true Satanists. They're more reactionaries who are trying to get a reaction out of other people. So they may have accomplished their goal by getting us to make a video about their conference. But hopefully we can see that they're really nothing more than intellectual teenagers who are rebelling against the world while not proposing anything better, trying
The
to
more
tear
important
down.
thing, the more important thing we can take away from this is that this is the credo of modern liberalism. The fact that we can look at these people and see their intellectual precepts to be those of teenagers, this desire to enrage their parents by painting pentagrams on their arm and saying their tattoos, by holding gatherings designed to cause the church to go into paroxysms of rage and concern, it reflects a reality that many of us are not willing to take on, which is that a significant proportion of the modern philosophical views that we hold are originally views that were rather intellectually immature. If we look at this law, it collapses in on the self. It is a self centered, as Michael said, an ideology for teenagers, for people that can't conceive of other beings.
Mhm.
But so much of our own society's laws and morals and norms rely on that assumption. The argument of how is this personally affecting you, which we hear so many set forward, is fundamentally an argument based on that same kind of intellectual immaturity.
Mhm. So yeah, I think we devoted too much of our time to this. So yeah, everyone, thanks for watching. Make sure to check out the rest of our videos and have a good day. God
Make
bless.
sure to support the mission as well. We need to get your support in order to keep this kind of content coming and to improve its quality. If you want to help support the Catholic Renaissance and Society, buy from our links below.
Yep, and I'll run our 10 books promotion. So if you use the code Catholicism for the Modern World, you'll receive 15% off your total order. Definitely go over to their website and check out their monthly sales, their $5 book sales. Their 10 books is one of the best book publishers out there. So
It's the month of Mary. Get something to remind you about your own mother.
definitely. Amen.